Welcome to my channel. Don't forget to subscribe and enjoy fresh news stories every single day. Hello, everyone. Let me take you back to a time when my wife, Rachel, and I were several years into our marriage, living what I believed to be a picture-perfect life. But as time passed, I began to notice a subtle yet unmistakable shift in our relationship. After our wedding, we had settled into a cozy apartment in Boston. For a long time, our love life felt like a beautifully choreographed dance, passionate, harmonious, and deeply gratifying. Then, seemingly out of nowhere, things began to change. It was as though the winds of our relationship had shifted direction. Rachel started turning down my advances, and no matter how much effort I put into rekindling our closeness, she always seemed to have an excuse. Work stress, exhaustion, or even the pull of her favorite TV shows. Gradually, it felt like everything else took precedence over the intimacy we had once shared so naturally. Her constant avoidance began to take its toll on me. Each rejection chipped away at my confidence, little by little. Yet, despite the growing frustration, my love for her was too strong to let this erosion destroy the life we had built together. After enduring months of rejection, I decided to try a different approach, a quiet act of defiance, or perhaps a social experiment. I stopped initiating any form of intimacy. I told myself I would wait for her to make the first move. While part of me was disheartened, another part was genuinely curious. What would happen if the roles were reversed? The results were almost immediate. The woman who had been consistently evading my touch suddenly became the one seeking it. At first, her attempts were tentative, as if testing the waters. But as time passed, her advances grew more determined, even passionate, reminiscent of how things used to be. Each time she reached out to me, I turned her down. The confusion in her expression was soon replaced by irritation and, eventually, anger. One evening, as my experiment continued, Rachel surprised me. We were sitting together on the couch in a comfortable silence, watching our favorite sitcom. She was nestled against me, her head resting on my shoulder. Suddenly, she turned to face me, her eyes sparkling with a playful glint I hadn't seen in ages. "Marcus," she murmured, her fingers tracing a delicate path across my chest. "It's been a while, hasn't it?" My heart raced at her touch, but I steeled myself, remembering my plan. Keeping my voice calm, I replied, "Rachel, I'm really tired tonight. Let's just enjoy the show, okay?" Her expression shifted instantly. Surprise morphed into confusion, which quickly turned into frustration. "Are you rejecting me?" she asked, her tone sharp. "After all this time, I've tried to reconnect with you, and now you're the one pushing me away?" Her words hit me like a slap. I stared at her, momentarily stunned, unsure of how to respond. "Rachel, No!" she interrupted, pulling away. The distance she created between us felt like a physical manifestation of the growing emotional divide. "You're tired? Fine, I get it," she said bitterly. The rest of the evening was drenched in uncomfortable silence. Her frustration was palpable, and guilt gnawed at me. But I reminded myself that this was part of the process, a necessary step for her to understand my pain. The next time Rachel made a move, I decided to escalate things further. I accepted her advances, and the flicker of anticipation in her eyes was undeniable. But just as we were about to rekindle our connection, my phone rang. A stage call I had arranged beforehand as part of my plan. Feigning urgency, I apologized and left the room, leaving Rachel behind, bewildered and hurt. Later that evening, when I returned home, she was waiting for me, her emotions barely contained beneath the surface. "I can't believe you did that, Marcus," she said, her voice trembling. "You avoided intimacy on purpose." It felt terrible. This was the moment I had been waiting for. I seized the opportunity to speak my truth. "And now you know how I felt, Rachel," I said, cutting her off. "All those months when I tried to get close to you and you pushed me away. Do you have any idea how much it hurt?" Her eyes widened as the realization dawned. The shock and guilt that played across her face told me my message had finally struck home. For the first time, she truly understood the weight of the pain I had been carrying silently. I could no longer endure the pain in silence, but at that moment, Rachel finally grasped the depth of the damage her actions had inflicted. "If you continue avoiding our connection," I said, my tone firm, "I won't hesitate to take the same approach again." My words hung heavily in the air, charged with significance. I watched as she struggled to process the weight of her realization. Her eyes drifted to my phone, lying innocently on the coffee table. Without hesitation, she seized it, her face unreadable but brimming with raw emotion. "This," she spat, her voice sharp and laced with anger, "this is what destroyed our moment." Before I could respond, she hurled the phone against the wall, the sound of it shattering echoing through the room like a symbol of our unraveling marriage. I stood motionless, my mind racing to comprehend what had just transpired. As I met her fiery gaze, it hit me like a tidal wave. This wasn't merely about a phone or even our intimacy issues. It was about the ever-widening gulf that had been silently growing between us for years. My so-called experiment had merely brought it into the light. In that instant, I confronted a harsh truth. Our relationship was beyond salvaging. I had tried to mend it, to reconstruct the love we once shared, but it was evident that she wasn't willing to meet me halfway. Taking a deep breath, I said the only thing left to say, "Rachel." My voice was steady despite the storm raging inside me. "I think it's time we end this. I'll be reaching out to my lawyer." Her stunned expression revealed she hadn't anticipated this outcome, but I knew it was the right decision. What started as a plan for revenge had evolved into a moment of clarity, not just for her, but for me. I realized that love alone is insufficient to sustain a relationship. Respect, open communication, and mutual understanding are equally essential, and all three had been absent in our marriage. As I braced myself for the emotional and legal turmoil ahead, I felt an unexpected sense of relief. This painful experience had illuminated what I truly needed and deserved in a relationship: genuine love, respect, and partnership. For those who remember my previous update about the breakdown of my marriage and the upcoming legal proceedings, here's how things unfolded. The past few months have been a whirlwind. I hired a highly skilled divorce attorney and filed the necessary paperwork, preparing for what I thought would be a grueling and contentious battle. I braced myself for the emotional and financial toll that often accompanies divorce. Surprisingly, the process turned out to be far smoother than I had feared. My attorney's expertise was instrumental in building a strong case. We even cited Rachel's emotional outburst, the destruction of my phone, as evidence of distress, which proved pivotal. The court ruled in my favor, freeing me from any obligation to pay alimony. Furthermore, I retained full ownership of the home and car we had purchased together. The relief I felt was immeasurable. What I had anticipated as a draining ordeal instead became a path to freedom and closure. As for Rachel, she had no option but to return to her parents' home in Seattle. I later learned she scrambled to book a flight. Though I felt a twinge of sympathy, I reminded myself that our situation was the result of choices made by both of us. A few days after she left, her parents called me, expecting anger or accusations. I was taken aback by their unexpected apology. They expressed regret over how things had unfolded and acknowledged that Rachel could have handled the situation differently. They assured me there were no hard feelings, a sentiment I reciprocated. This surprising conversation brought a sense of closure I hadn't realized I needed. Now, I am adjusting to this new chapter in my life. Coming home to an empty house feels strange, but I'm finding solace in the quiet. While moments of sadness and bitterness still creep in, they're gradually being replaced by a sense of liberation and optimism. If this experience has taught me anything, it's that love alone cannot sustain a relationship. Respect, clear communication, and mutual understanding are just as vital. Without them, even the strongest love will falter. To anyone facing similar struggles, my advice is simple: Never hesitate to stand up for yourself and demand the respect you deserve. And don't be afraid to walk away if things aren't improving. Your happiness and mental well-being are what matter most. Thank you for watching and supporting my journey. Don't forget to subscribe for more heartfelt stories like this.